Since Season 3's launch, people have been talking a lot about ranked inflation, and below I've listed a bunch of questions that I've been seeing since then, and I've waited to talk about this partially because I wanted to get a better handle on how the ranked system functions in Season 3. They've changed the ranked system so much over and over. I actually did a deep dive in Season 1 about how your points fluctuate at each rank versus other ranks, and that was a lot of work, and they've changed it so many times that I have not sat down to actually do that again. But I also think it kind of, we're losing the plot, if you ask me. Obviously, it's good to criticize ranked systems and understand how they work, but I think it gets to a point where people are way more focused on this than actually like playing and enjoying and getting better at the game of Tekken. And so I think that's a big deal. Bit of a disclaimer, maybe I'm just out of touch because I've been more focused on like pro level play and where I stack up skill-wise against that and developing those skills. I've been more focused on that than the absolute rank positioning. So maybe I'm a bit out of touch. And I haven't played tons of games with different rank systems. I have familiarity with League of Legends, chess, Street Fighter 6, and Tekken 8. Those are the main ones. And then I guess Tekken Tag 2 and Tekken 7, things like that. I could be out of touch with how different anime fighters handle it or different competitive games handle it. That's an important disclaimer. But I think that my points will still be good food for thought, especially if you're newer to Tekken or if you're really concerned about your rank and this issue seems frustrating to you. One other disclaimer I want to make is I think it's important to never rank shame someone. But before somebody clips me, you'll see that I only ever rank shame someone in response to them rank shaming someone else or giving criticism from a very like condescending angle. I think that's an important distinction to make. This ranked system is too flawed, and I have these questions here grouped here for this reason. Like, there are a set of questions that people go through that this ranked system simply cannot answer. It's not like chess where you can identify brackets of skill and clearly know how good people are, right? It's just not that type of system. And I guess that takes us into these questions very smoothly. Like, people will often ask, like, am I an average rank? Is this a decent rank for Tekken? How much top percent am I to be considered good enough? Or at what rank is there the biggest skill jump? And the real answer is just this ranked system does too many things different from like a zero-sum elo system that it's really hard to concretely draw skill boundaries. There are benefits for win streaking, there's like demotion protection, there's a lot of ways the points get adjusted in a way that feels better for player retention and things like that, but are not as punishing as like a good skill rating system needs to be. I will say though, before we start jumping on this train, that I think that no matter what rank you are, setting a goal and working to achieve it is always something that's admirable. And that's why I don't rank shame people. People will be in my Discord and say, finally hit Tekken King, finally hit Tekken God, finally hit Fujin. And I don't know their perspective on the game. I don't know how much time they spend on the game. All I know is that they aspired to reach that rank and they're proud of achieving it. And I stand by that. I think no matter where you are in the overall skill bracket, that is something that is relatable and that is something that is very human. And ultimately, fighting games to me are closer to like martial arts, where it's not about becoming an Olympic champion in whatever art you're practicing, but you engage with the sport to have a sense of discipline and feel the improvement from working at it. So for me, whatever rank people achieve is less important to me than how they set out to do it and what they did to accomplish it. And I'll talk more about that later too, because I want to talk about how I look at the rank system after we answer all of these common questions, I guess, about the rank system. The other set of questions I get a lot are like, I think missing the point of ranked, or maybe getting too lost in the sauce about the PNG you have, what percentage of the player base you stack up against. I think it's a little too focused on the wrong things. So questions like, is God of Destruction the new Fujin? Or at what point am I an intermediate? Is this rank good enough? When does the real Tekken start? You know? And I think that I have answers that will address some of these concerns, but I want to emphasize again that I don't think this is the point. I really think the point is, where do you naturally place? What goals can you set for yourself, and how do you accomplish those goals? But I know people will ask, and I get questions about it all the time. We can start with the first one. Is God of Destruction the new Fujin? I think the concerns with this question are fundamentally, are people's ranks being devalued, right? You may have spent Season 1 fighting really hard to get God of Destruction, and now you see people in God of Destruction nonstop, and they may not be playing the type of Tekken you like to see, or the type of Tekken that you personally value as good, right? I think this is very easily addressable without even looking at any stats by just simply looking at the number of ranks, okay? In Season 1, God of Destruction was the final rank. Before that, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There were 8 ranks before, and that put you at Raijin, right? How many ranks did they add? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then God 8. Nobody's got 8 yet. God Infinity. So just by considering, if you don't look at the PNGs and you remove all bias you've had about what that rank meant, they have simply added 8 more ranks on top of everything. So by nature, the ranks are naturally going to push up, right? Because when all the pros are no longer in God of Destruction rank, they are no longer gatekeeping the weaker players. They've already ranked up here. So the weaker players will just naturally rise up. The gatekeepers are gone, you know? I think that question is very easily answered, and it's not about the specifics. Oh, God is the new Fujin, Tekken King is the new Fujin, Tekken God is the new Fujin. None of that really matters. It's the fact that they've added more ranks. The top players are in those top ranks, so the lower players are not getting pushed down as much anymore. If you want to talk about where, like, high-level players exist, okay? If we really had to draw a distinction, it was God of Destruction in Season 1, because that was just the last place to go. In Season 2, they added a more punishing system that really kicked in after God 2, where once you started losing to people lower ranked than you, you got smacked with huge negative points, and there were no protections or anything like that. And then now in Season 3, a lot of tournament players are sitting in God 6, but again, that's a factor, I think, of how punishing the system is. For example, Peeling, early in the season, was in God 6, was on a 15 win streak and was still on demotion risk, because when you lose to anybody below you while you're in God 6, it's extremely punishing. You lose so many points and you barely gain any. So the harder a system is, the more natural it's going to be that people get pushed out of it, hence why the best players in the world are mostly God 6, God 7. It's just where the point system gets ridiculous. I can't comment on where intermediate rank starts, again, because I think people climb with different skill sets. You'll see people in GOD with really, really good offense, and you'll see some GOD players who know their string defense and know their punishment, but don't know how to attack. You'll see that go like, you know, GOD to God 2. So I really, really hesitate to draw firm lines, especially when they keep changing the rank system. All I can comment on is you'll see a lot of tournament players and pros in God 6 and God 5. And that goes along with, like, is this rank considered good? When does the Real Tekken start? I place very little value in that. Even in God 6, I'm knowledge checking people with Steve, right? A character who has some strings that haven't changed in multiple Tekken games. I'm able to knowledge check people. So ultimately, I'm improving my offense, I'm improving my defense, and I'm looking for a ranked system that brings me challenging matches quickly. And if you had, I guess, a ranked goal or something like that, just remember that they've added 8 ranks. So you will have to push your expectations up, but that doesn't mean that you have to lose pride in the rank that you got. Because at the time that you were challenging yourself to get it, even if it's been devalued, it was hard at that time. I think that's a really important piece of perspective, is like, we're here to find matches and get better at the game. And like, yes, it feels good to set a goal rank and reach it, but that is the secondary game more than just playing the game of Tekken. You know what I mean? Because, like, the worst thing for this game, in my opinion, happened in Season 2, where they did make the rank system more challenging, but it took, like, 20 minutes to find a game at top rank. So you would spend most of your time logging in, sitting in queue, and not getting to play. And I think that is infinitely worse than having a ranked system that doesn't exactly reward skill. Finding fast matches and having them be reasonably within your skill bracket, I think, is the top priority. But yeah, as humans, we do put value in our ranks and you know, in achievement and winning and things like that. I think there's a human element to that, but I think putting it in perspective is important. Before I talk about my perspective on ranked, or how I think many people would benefit from thinking about ranked, I think there are some reasonable questions about the rank system, or, like, you know, complaints people have. Somebody was asking, why is my rank going up when I have a negative win rate? Like, when I'm losing, the matches end up getting harder because I'm ranking up, even though I'm losing more. So it's just more miserable. I push back on that because, first of all, it's true. In these ranks below here, I don't know exactly where the shift happens, but in many of the lower ranks, you can get promoted while having a negative win rate. And this happens in Street Fighter as well. Before Master, you get pushed up a little naturally. But I push back on the idea that your opponents are getting better as you rank up, because they're going through the same experience. They also may have negative win rates and are ranking up at the same time. And sure, some of them are going to be hard, but realistically, again, there are going to be exploits in their defense. You're going to have offensive knowledge advantage with your character. And if you're struggling with that, that's a point of feedback, right? You can improve your offensive stuff watching some pros or just fighting against the players at your relative skill bracket frequently. And when I say skill bracket, this is how I've looked at ranked games for a while. I consider your rank to be like a range. And that range depends on, your condition that day. Depends on, are you fighting matchups you're familiar with? Are you fighting matchups you're not familiar with? And then that's not even getting into, is the matchup good or bad for your character? I don't think that's fully relevant because even at top level, people are not playing matchups optimally. But familiarity is a big issue. Comfort is a big issue. Are you running into bad connections that day? There's a lot of reasons why you may be promoting or demoting. And so seeing your rank as a range of fluctuation, right? Are you having an on day or an off day? Is an important deal. For this game, I would say like a ranked fluctuation of like plus or minus 1 is reasonable. So like my skill bracket right now is between God 2 and God 4. That's how I would look at myself personally, because I hover God 3, God 4. But yeah, for people who are getting ranked up and feeling like the matches stay hard, your opponents are going through the same experience. So I don't think the matches are getting significantly harder. I think that there's just a lot of natural variance in how good or bad the players are in this range. Second question that I think is pretty valid is like, should smurfs be allowed, or how do we handle the smurfing problem? And important distinction to make, people complain about this, but often mean two different things. So there's people who have second accounts who re-rank up from the beginning, and they may do that for a variety of reasons. Some people do it to punch down because they can't rank up anymore. But the experience I see most often is high-level players doing a second account for only player 2 side, or doing a side character on a completely fresh account, or trying to get new perspective on their main character and what tools are effective against different types of players. Because sometimes at these top ranks, you really run into the same people over and over again, and the matchmaking gets stale. I'm not going to deny that that's a tough experience for newer players, but how I've always looked at it is the people who are smurfing will climb out of that rank relatively quickly. And if they're not climbing out of the rank quickly, then they belong there. So even though it may feel really hard in certain defensive situations or dealing with certain flowcharts, if you're running into the same smurf over and over again, which I think is pretty rare, they belong in that rank too, and they're very beatable. The other thing that's worth considering, and they've made changes to this in Season 3 as well, is how the game treats side characters. So when you rank up to a certain rank, say like God 1, all of your side characters, I think, get put up to God of Destruction. I'm fuzzy on the exact details of what promotion leads to what lifting of your side characters, but the perspective from me has always been similar to how it is with the account smurfers, is that sure, they may be really good at Tekken, but people underestimate how hard it is to transfer that knowledge to a secondary character. And there are going to be a lot of abusable things, especially on defense, while somebody's trying to figure out offensive flowcharts and things like that. So if they really are that much better, they will rank out quickly. But for your specific match at that time, they're probably beatable if they're in your rank. There are some exceptions, of course, if like a pro is on a side account or a pro's on a side character. But aside from those, you gotta believe in yourself to take down these people. It's gonna be a fight, but it's very doable. Somebody in chat just said, Smurfs don't defeat characters, they defeat players though. And I assume they're saying Smurfs are more likely to understand player tendency and using their experience against a newer player. And while that may be true, Tekken 8 is the game where character strength is supposed to override that. You're supposed to have access to mix-ups and the ability to close that skill gap by design. So while I don't disagree that that's an advantage Smurfs have, they are less likely to be able to leverage it as well on a side character. Their combos will do less damage. Their okazemi will be weaker. Their offensive use of their tools may not be as familiar, and their defense is definitely going to be weaker while they're trying to get comfortable with a new character. Even the best defenders in like the United States, I fight like speed kicks and glaciating. When they're on a secondary character, I'm hitting them more. I'm frame trapping them more. There's more mental load there, even at the top level. So I can guarantee those weaknesses will show up at a lower level. Other good questions. What rank do I pick up a secondary? This one's a bit tricky because I think that there's valid concern in asking this. Like, I don't want to abandon a character before I've really gotten a good understanding of my character and the Tekken they play. And so I think that's valid. But it's really going to depend on your goals. If you're a tournament player, maybe it's worth pushing up towards where the tournament players are hanging out, seeing if you can overcome your weaknesses on that character before you jump ship. On the other hand, it's a video game. So if you're not having enough fun and it's miserable playing your character, then there's no point of reaching a skill where I think that will totally transform, right? A character should probably be fun outside of just winning and losing. I'm talking about like running interactions and combos and offensive defensive flow. Those types of things should be fun, I think, pretty early on, or at least in the intermediate level. So I would not focus too hard on pushing your character to a certain rank before you feel like you need a new character. Obviously, the flip side of that are people who hit their first, I guess, stumbling point of the rank they feel like they can't get past and then jump characters. That can be detrimental to your development, but ultimately, what is your goal? Are you a competitive player? Are you playing the video game casually? Are you somewhere in between? Answering those questions will help you decide when to pick up a secondary. And, you know, you could always come in the stream and ask. Like, we can talk about that all the time. So, what rank is good to start competing at? Like entering tournaments? Beginner. I think the moment you enter a tournament, it puts all of this rank stuff into complete perspective. There is no comparison to being in the loser's side of a bracket, getting eliminated from a tournament, and having to like sit with that, right? Even a free tournament, even a free online tournament. The stress, the intensity, and what that does to the mind games between both players is so transformative that it makes this ranked climb feel way less intense and way less serious. I am a big fan of people entering tournaments as soon as possible. It also can lead to social situations, right? A lot of people in tournaments, especially locals, will strike up a conversation, be like, hey, good games, man. Do you have any tips? Or like, wow, you really cooked me with that. How do I do this? Or, there's no way you beat me next time. You know, there's a lot of different ways to get fun interactions in tournaments that just don't happen with how impersonal ranked is. So I think competing as soon as possible can be great. A chatter just said, I went 1-2 at Combo Breaker and had fun with it. Tournaments are super fun. Even if the competition is scary and the PvP is scary, it can be it's not for everybody, but it can be a great experience in pushing you past your comfort zone and putting ranked in perspective. But yeah, we talked a lot about these common questions, so let's talk about how I look at ranked. The core question, I think, is what is the point of a ranked system, and for what audience is that point, right? Like, or who is the target audience? If we're going to be real, I think that for a lot of these early ranks, fighting games, and many games in general, have solved what their purpose is. In Street Fighter, before Master Rank, you can climb with a negative win rate. Same thing with Tekken in a bunch of these lower ranks. Again, I got auto-placed in God of Destruction, so I don't have the perspective of lower ranks in a while, and I'd have to smurf to do it, which I know is a problematic topic. I just know that lower ranks naturally push you up. And I think the point is pretty clear. I think the point is to just keep people engaged with the game. We're humans, right? We like seeing numbers go up. We like ranking up. Even at the top level of play, people like seeing their ranks go up. So I think that this just serves as a way to keep people engaged, logging in online, getting your battle pass points, getting your rank going up. Fortnite does that. A bunch of games do that, right? I think that's nothing new. I think where the target audience question gets really interesting is at that super competitive level. Again, you can enter tournaments at any time, and I recommend it. But for the people who are actively pushing their tournament performance, competing against the other best players in the world, or in general, just really sweaty players, I think a good ranked system is harder to achieve for them in particular. TLDR, I think my favorite rank system is the Street Fighter 6 MR system. After you hit Master, it's basically like chess elo, and I think it's punishing, but it's fair, and it's clear, right? It's very understandable why you rank up and why you don't. And there are clear, noticeable improvements in skill as you climb. Obviously, in a game like Street Fighter 6, there are exceptions, especially because the game is so offensive, the game is very systems heavy and rewards a lot of play that people disagree with. But ultimately, if you've played the Tekken ranked system, you will feel the difference in the Street Fighter ranked system. But what are the goals for players who are really, really sweaty in that sense, right? They're already committed to Tekken. They already know what they want out of the game and they want to improve. To me, I've talked about this earlier, fast matchmaking with relatively similar skill. In Season 1, God of Destruction players, because everybody got pushed up, were a combination of brand new Tekken 8 babies and people who've been playing since Tekken Tag 2. Right? So there was no division between the top 0.001% and brand new players. Relatively brand new players. So that skill gap was unfun because the top 0.01% want to grind against each other, and the brand new players really are going to be overwhelmed by that skill. It's not really a competitive match, and while it's great experience, it can be great experience to play in that skill gap. I think in a ranked system, that season 1 had the problem where it was capped too early and pushing up too quickly. Season 2 added the extra ranks, but had really bad matchmaking. So honestly, in season 3, I like where this ranked system is. It's allowing a lot of challenge, it's allowing a lot of skill distribution, and good, fast matchmaking at the same time. And I'm a big fan of that. This is a slight tangent. Given the latest news about Nakatsu departing and Harada departing Bandai Namco, I think people are unclear about how negative it can be being on the internet as a public-facing figure. And I have to talk about this because this is relevant to the ranked discussion. I was talking about how ranked systems would be good, and this guy on Twitter said MMR would fix this, ELO, as is a common synonym, would fix this, but pussies such as FDX and the main man, as well as many others, never advocate for this since they want to be in Bamco's good graces like a good little doggy. Now, I talk about the negativity not because it's hard to have a thick skin in these situations, although, truthfully, I think as humans, we're not meant to interact with this many people on the internet. But the point is, it's a straight up lie. I'm on the record for multiple years saying that after GOD, an ELO system, kind of like Street Fighter, would be really, really good. So this is just to say that for those who don't believe how negative it can be, being a public-facing figure on the internet, people will lie about you even on things that you agree with them with. In any case, mind-boggling situation. And, you know, whether or not we agree or disagree with the decisions of certain game developers, there's a human element. That's all I wanted to say. And I think an ELO system would be good. My advice for people who are still tuned in, because I know we've been yapping for quite a minute, I think that the skill improvement should be a heavy part of your focus. We're human. We like seeing the numbers go up. We like accomplishment. We like seeing ranks, things like that. But remember how you do it, right? You get better at the craft itself, the block punishment, the whiff punishment, the movement, the matchup knowledge, your flowcharts, your frame traps, your knowledge checks, your solid play. All of that, you can pick any of those things, get better at it, and the rank will come. It might take a while. You might have to work on multiple things, but the rank will come if you get better. Number 2 is set goals and then make plans to reach those goals. I really want to hit God 6. Maybe I should stop dropping my combos trying to go for really fancy things because that's my problem as a streamer. Maybe I should not force kills for funny clips with really punishable moves because I want the next clip compilation to be funny. You know, in general, there are things we can do as players to make the ranked climb more objective and less of, man, if I were just to win this next game, I'd get 1,000 points, but because I ran into a smurf, now I have to win 2 games. You have to kind of zoom out a bit, and I think, again, focus on the craft. And then this is something I always stand by. It's why I don't rank shame people who is like, should I be proud of reaching this rank? Is this a good rank for this character? Is this a good rank for only playing for like 6 months? The accomplishment of your goal is more important than anything else, really. It doesn't matter that the PNG itself, that GOD was devalued. It doesn't matter, because if you cared about reaching it and then you did it, that's the important thing. I want to finish with a quote from Anakin's stream. He talked about this recently, is there's always a rank you're struggling to get. And that's ultimately what matters. In a fighting game, again, leaning on that martial arts analogy, we're pushing up against our own limits. We're pushing up against our own barrier. As humans, we tie our ego to external things. We like the reward of ranking up, and if you care about the reward, it's natural that you'll also care about the negativity when you don't get that, or when you feel pushed down, like away from that goal. I think it's just important to recenter on the craft and what we're doing. Like, ultimately, it doesn't matter that much if you are top 12%, if you're top 6%, if you're top 4%. What we're more interested in is, I think at least, is my work going somewhere? Is the time I'm spending meaningful? Is the effort I'm putting in being rewarded? And I think there are better metrics for that, qualitative metrics for that, outside of the percentage of where you are. And I think that that makes the task more fulfilling. And again, I'm going to say all this, and I'm still going to get mad when I demote out of God 4 or God 5, or when I'm in Street Fighter and I lose to somebody who's like 1350. I'm going to get mad. I'm going to get angry. But I think keeping this perspective in mind allows for the enjoyment of ranking up while also focusing on the really meaningful, fun things that keep us coming to fighting games or competition in general. I hope this was helpful. A lot of people have different perspectives on rank, but I thought I wanted to share mine as somebody who's been in the trenches of League of Legends, as somebody who's been in the trenches of Street Fighter's MR system, and someone who's been in the trenches of Tekken's rank systems before too. I think that, you know, it's good to set goals. It's good to care. just remember to have fun doing the craft itself, improving at the task at hand. Leave a like and a comment if you haven't already. Subscribe for more, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.